2022 has already begun and it's filled to the brim with video games. My god, there's so many video games, maybe there's too many of them. Let's go read some books instead. Since we're not gonna do that, I thought I'd share with you what are my pick for most interesting games / games I'm excited for in 2022. I mean, I probably won't play them until like 2030 if I live that long, but hey, at least they're coming out soon and some of you will be able to enjoy them. Now this is a top something list, it's not in any particular order, so let's get started with the, Half-Life 3. Thing is, I kind of say this every year, I guess, that Half-Life 3 is coming out. I mean, Half-Life Elex came out, and that was sort of like Half-Life 0. It was a Half-Life thing. And what better time for Half-Life 3 to come out than now? I mean, well, what's the waiting? It's not like those hypersonic nukes are getting any further. They're close now. I mean, just release the game now before the white blaze of utter destruction engulfs us. I mean, we still have time. We still have like 2-3 months. So, Half-Life 3, come on. Valve, you know you can do it. You know you could do it, but you chose not to. Next up, Star Citizen Squadron 42. Now, it's been delayed a bunch of times, a bunch of times. The whole pandemic thing certainly did not help, but hey, they've scaled up. They've opened a new studio somewhere, I think in England or someplace, or Scotland, or was it Ireland? Somewhere. They opened a new studio, so, well, it's not like they instantly filled it with people and they instantly got to work and everything was instantly accelerated in terms of development, and there's still a pandemic going on, but come on. I mean, Squadron 42, it just released like the first mission of it. It doesn't have to be like completely... Okay, it does kind of have to be polished because otherwise people are going to say, oh well, we raised so much and that's all we got, and oh look, the ship is flying backwards. Same people that bought Mass Effect Andromeda. I really look forward to seeing this. Haven't actually bought it yet. I think I'm gonna buy it this year just so I can do a show about it. I mean, the multiplayer aspect, which has been playable for longer than I've been doing videos on this channel. I know, it's still not launched, it's still an alpha. And because they called it that, people say, well, it's never gonna be released. Warframe is still a beta. Keep that in mind. We're in new territory in terms of how games can be developed. I think Dwarf Fortress should have been proof of that. But anyway, hopefully it'll come out this year. If not, then, well, there's a bunch of other games on this list, starting with Weird West. Now, you may be wondering, what is the West and why is it weird? Well, you see, West is a direction, and it's weird because it's like a top-down, isometric-ish role-playing game. Like, it sort of kind of looks like a tiny bit of a Fallout thing, if you will, but it's made by some of the people that used to work on Prey and Dishonored, so it is going to be quite an interesting game because it's going in the same direction of giving you freedom of choice and options and a whole lot of ways you can play it, and it's a Western with werewolves, so it's kind of what I've been expecting to see in games since Nocturne did that thing, you know. Remember with actually don't think the werewolf was on the I think the werewolf was on a train in the second act, and then he went to the old town and there were werewolves there as well. Anyway, it's got magic, it's got tactics, it's got probably good dialogue and dialogue options and systems within systems upon systems, and you can travel around the west of something with your own werewolves as companions, and it looks nice. Just as nice as Song of Conquest. Now, if you haven't heard of Song of Conquest, well, it's probably not playing in any venue near you yet. This is kind of like Heroes of Might and Magic. It's a lot like Heroes of Might and Magic. It resembles Heroes of Might and Magic a lot. It has its own twists on it, but it's absolutely Heroes of Might and Magic. You know, with a pixelated art style, it's cute. It does take a while to like get used to it, but when you see the way that it's presented, sort of looks a bit like Dead Spank did with the way the world was organized visually. I mean, I've got high hopes for this. Hopes that it will somehow recapture what Heroes lost along the way, and it being like super cute and pixelated kind of gives me hope for that. That'll maybe capture some of that Heroes 2 charm and some Heroes 3 gameplay, I guess. You know, with its own twists and turns. I don't want it to be an exact copy. It does have a golden goose in it, and I think Heroes 2 had that as well, but they could really up the ante and add a diamond duck. I've suggested that they add a diamond duck. Why would you not? It's right there, diamond duck. It's free. Do it. Up next, Elex 2. Now, if you haven't played Elex, it is Eurojank. It is as Eurojank as a game can get, and it is beautifully glorious because of it. Piranha Bytes tends to make some really amazing games, and sometimes some really broken games, and that just makes them more amazing. And Elex was okay. I didn't finish it, but what I played from it, I enjoyed. I do, however, have one fear. You see, Piranha Bytes used to make a good first game in a series, then a great second game, then a third game that we don't speak about. But that changed with Risen when they made a great first game and then really just did not with the second one. And I'm not even going to get into Risen 3. What they did with Patty and just what they did to her. But hopefully they've learned their lesson and will not try to make a Hollywood movie type situation with with Elex 2. Because it just made Pirates of the Caribbean with Risen 2 and it blew big chunks. Elex maybe don't make something in the vein of, I don't know, After Earth or Battlefield Earth, or just don't take inspiration from movies and do something like, you know, more in lines with what Gothic 2 did, but, you know, make it sci-fi. Okay. We have another sequel next. Dying Light 2, which has been delayed a couple of times. There was a bit of an issue with some things in the game's development, but it's coming out. It'll come out, and I really have high hopes for this. The first Dying Light had some of the best gameplay of an open world game in years. It was absolutely marvelous. The story and characters were horse crap. I mean, it was utterly stupid. I think the expansion may have been a bit better. I do have the expansion. I didn't finish the expansion. I just finished the main game. But the story in the main game and the characters, my god, they were terrible. Now, I was kind of hoping that because Chris Avalon, you know, participated in the development of the story, this meant that it wouldn't suck as much in that aspect, but Chris got cancelled, so I think they may have like taken out some of the bits he did, which would probably not improve the game's story. But I'm hoping that it does come out and that it's gonna be fine, because again, they can only go up. Well, no, actually, they can go down a lot. They can go down quite a lot. Man, Dying Light 2 could end up being horrible. I just hope it doesn't. Much like I hope that none of the games that in this list, in this video, are horrible. Like Dune Spice Wars. Man, we're finally getting a new Dune game after so many years. Dune Spice Wars. And it's not just gonna be like another RTS. No. This is going to be a 4X RTS. So I'm kind of thinking that maybe they took some inspiration from what was that thing called? Sins of a Solar Empire? That was a 4X strategy game. Or maybe, you know, Conquest Frontier Wars. It's got a lot of potential. I mean, it's made by the people that made Northgard, by Shiro Games, and that's not a bad game. They also made Evoland, which, again, was more of a like a joke thing. Not a joke thing, but a very meta thing. They also had a sequel. I never played the sequel, though I have it. I've had it for years. But I think they can pull it off. I think they can do a proper Dune game, hopefully. I mean, the last one we got was Emperor Battle for Dune, and that was ages ago. I actually haven't played Emperor Battle for Dune in years. I've played it probably the least in the entire Dune, you know, franchise. I've played Frank Herbert's Dune more, and I hate Frank Herbert's Dune. I almost did a show about it last year, but, well, I couldn't get it to work, and I saw that as a blessing and didn't try. I could always just, you know, add a dub over the Romanian version of the show I did, God knows, some 10 years ago, my god. Oh, that was a long time ago. Speaking of things that were a long time ago, Path of Exile 2. Now, it didn't really dawn on me exactly how little I've played Path of Exile in the past couple of years. Then seeing an announcement from the developers that they were retiring a feature from the game that was added in one of the many expansions that was kind of still a new thing for me. Like, I had just started exploring that feature when I picked it up to play it last time, and then gave up and then picked it up to play it again, and they're removing it from the game because it was superseded by other features. It's at that point that it really drives home the idea that, yeah, maybe it's time for a sequel, because the original game is so filled with stuff that you don't really know what to start with and where to do it. And I'm not referring to the passive skill forest. That's become the least complicated thing to understand in the game. Everything else now is a lot more complicated. So starting fresh, starting from scratch, with a game that already has everything they've built for Path of Exile 1 built into it coherently, that should probably be easier for people to get into. And I hope people do get into it, because I have no faith, no hope for Diablo 4. I'll probably play it even less than Diablo 3, which probably means I won't play it at all. Like, they've had their chance, they blew it. They blew it hard. Sure, the Diablo 2 remaster I've heard is okay. I mean, it's lacking some features from the original because DRM is a thing and land doesn't exist and stuff. But hey, Path of Exile 2 sounds like it's going to be great. Or at least as good as the first one. Maybe do something with the story that's interesting. I mean, yeah, it's not that the story of Path of Exile is bad. It's actually, you know, kind of good. And probably every English, like, literature aficionado got a kick out of the name of the island itself, or the continent, Rayclast, which literally is Path of Exile. That's what it's named. But I just... going from Diablo's heaven and hell, you know, angels and demons live among us, and the eternal conflict, into Path of Exile's lore is... I don't know, man. It just doesn't grip you as much. Now, if you want more about gods and maybe demons, then we also have a Stargate game coming up. Stargate Timekeepers. One that looks like it's made by the same people that did, you know, Blades of the Shogun and the last Desperados game, but it's not. It's made by some people called Creative Forge, but it is that same kind of game. It's a real-time tactics game, and it so much reminds me of, well, I don't know if any of you played it, but there was a Star Trek Away Team real-time tactics game like 20 years ago. And this Stargate game would have fit so well back then. It would have... that's when it was supposed to have been released. When Stargate was still at the peak of its influence. Actually, it was probably still growing. I don't think that Atlantis had come out yet. And it's when this genre was still going strong. But having it now, well, maybe having it now is better, because it's like you found a game that was supposed to have been made back then but wasn't released, and it's here now, and it looks like it's from now, not from back then. And I just hope that this doesn't mean I have to run into the same very nice people who were really up my wazoo when it came to the canceling of the Stargate Worlds MMO. Because reporting on something getting cancelled means you're a horrible person, right? That you're lying. No, they can't. The game can't be cancelled. The community manager said it wasn't cancelled. And then my editor forced me to interview that guy. Somebody that didn't have anything to add. Like nothing. Probably gonna make a show about it. Tales from the trenches. Times I was forced to do stupid things for my job because, well, I didn't choose what to do for my job. Anywho, Stargate Timekeepers probably, hopefully, won't suck. Just like I hope that the System Shock remake will not suck. I mean, it's made by Night Dive. They are really obsessed with making good games. I mean, they've basically canceled this project once because they went a bit too far in the let's enhance it approach and realized, okay, let's not actually change it, let's just remake the game, and they're remaking it, and it looks faithful. They even kept the textures on the walls looking pixelated and kind of crappy, which is, it's nice, and I really look forward to seeing it finally remastered because, well, the thing is, I never finished the first System Shock. I was close to finishing it, but then I got a new computer, and suddenly I could play 3D games that not only were 3D, but moved at multiple frames a second and in real time, and it had Prep-Elex on it. I mean, how could you say no to Prep-Elex? Okay, could have probably run Prep-Elex on the old PC as well, but you have to understand, I jumped from a Pentium 1 to a Pentium 2 with a dedicated video card, so you can kind of understand why I gave up on System Shock. I mean, I played it before there was such a thing as the internet and walkthroughs, and I got lost a lot. I was young back then. I didn't fully appreciate System Shock yet, so having it be remastered maybe will take some of the pain away, the shame. And hopefully it'll come out this year, not after the nukes go off. Up next, Ghostwire Tokyo. So this is a game where you fight ghosts using magic kung fu. It sort of reminds me a bit of that game that came out a bit after Skyrim, which basically existed because Skyrim's magic system looked neat, but it actually had a good magic system and not much else. Lichdom Battle Mage, made by the developers of The Culling, which maybe could have benefited from a magic system. But anyway, Ghostwire Tokyo. It looks bonkers, and I'm into that. I'm super into that. It's kung fu, martial arts, but with magic, and you fight ghosts. I mean, the game sells itself, people. Much like Terra Invicta, with a name so smooth and jazzy, how could you not think of it as being an instant bestseller? So Terra Invicta is made by the people that created the reason most have bought the first XCOM game, you know, the Long War mod. They've made their own game, Terra Invicta. It is, in a way, like XCOM, but it's more of a grand strategy in the way it approaches the whole thing, because it's not just on Earth, it's in space as well. It's multifaceted. It's a strategy game that I really want to see what they did. I really want to see how they took their idea of XCOM and expanded upon it, changed it, transformed it into something that they believe will be a more worthwhile product than just simply an XCOM clone. I really hope it'll be good. I mean, they're kind of a first-time developer. They've made mods, but that's a mod is not exactly like a game, because when you have a mod, you already have the framework to work in. It's sort of like writing fan fiction. The nuts and bolts are already there. You just have to make sure you put them in the right order, sort of. So hopefully it won't be a technological disaster or something. Speaking of technological disasters, at the end we have Kerbal Space Program 2. Now, Kerbal Space Program is one of my most favorite games ever made, and Kerbal Space Program 2 promises to be more of the same, but with multiplayer from the get-go, not just as a mod that you have to hope that people know how to implement. It's gonna have that from the start. It's gonna have multi-solar system exploration. It's gonna have a lot of features that will hopefully make it even better than the first game. Hopefully, because it's not made by Squad. It's made by some offshoot of Take-Two, so it hopefully will not blow chunks and won't be a complete betrayal of the original game. Again, it's made by Take-Two, so it'll probably have so much DLC that at some point I'm just gonna probably build a rocket myself out of spare parts. It'll be cheaper in the end. And I could even probably get to the moon, like before the nukes drop. There's an idea for a project. Now, there are plenty of other games coming out this year that I'm kind of excited for, like the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, which is an enhanced remake of the original, and there's a Witcher 3 remake coming, updated thing for the next-gen consoles, and well, GTA 5 is getting a remake as well. A lot of remakes coming out this year, but you know, there's also some other games probably coming out this year. Hey, Wonder Woman's I think that's actually coming out next year. It's gonna have the Nemesis system, which is nice. I think they'll have fewer chances of screwing up the Wonder Woman lore than they did with what they did with Sexy Shelob in that Lord of the Rings game. So tell me in the comments, what games are you most excited for this year, and do you actually believe you will get a chance to play them? Notice I didn't say Stalker 2, because I'm gonna be LARPing it soon, except it's not gonna be a LARP. It's gonna be the real thing. Goodbye everybody, have a great 2022, or as much of it as you can. Goodbye.